Hi, I'm Janet Skates and welcome to my YouTube channel. I've had a lot of questions recently about mark making and my approach to mark making on my pieces of artwork. So I want to do a demo today and kind of visit with you about that. I do mark making on both canvas and paper works and on my journal pages as well. So this is an example of an abstract piece that I'm working on currently, and I may add some more paint to this, but this is a place where I might start with some mark making. And that's kind of the background, you know, that I've built in here that would show off some mark making. Before I get started though, I want to go over if you're practicing mark making, you can use so many different tools. Pens, pencils, Sharpie markers. This is a Stabilo All pencil, A-L-L pencil. I use these a lot. This is a Crayola colored pencil. Here is a Faber-Castell aquarelle pencil, pens, China markers, jelly roll pens. The list goes on and on. Stabilo Carbothello pencil, the Woody 3-in-1s, and then I use a lot of the Faber-Castell and Staedtler liner pens. I use those a lot for fine lining, super fine lining on journal pieces, not usually on paper or canvas because the tips are so fine on those. And then my trusty Posca pen, which if you've seen anything I've ever done, you know I love Posca pens. And so I'm gonna demo in my Posca pen today, and if I run out of ink I'll grab something else, but this is great for you to see on. This is a little off-white paper. It's in, I think, a Ranger journal. And so I'm gonna use this. You can practice mark making on anything. It's great, any kind of paper. Here's a little pad that I use. Well, it's actually a big pad. It's 11 by 14. But here's some examples of how I might sit around and doodle. And I found this one this morning, which I had done, gosh, I don't know, a year or two ago. But you'll notice it's just practice, and that's what builds confidence. With your mark making on your pieces is just doing it and doing lots and lots of it, pages and pages. So this is just fun, and it's doodles, and that might be some place that you would want to start with just a big pad of paper and begin your journaling. So I'm going to start out. The first thing to do is just make a mark on your paper, because people have this block about blank pages. It's practice, and so don't worry about your blank pages. So when I mark make, I want to go over some of the different methods that I use, and sometimes it's consciously and sometimes it's really subconsciously when I get into that meditative mode when I'm painting. So a lot of times you'll see groups that I do together, and so I tend to make these different. They're not uniform shapes, these are different shapes. You can vary the size to create more interest, big and small. You'll notice that as I go, sometimes I go counterclockwise and sometimes I go clockwise. That's a really handy tip, because you get a different shape when you rotate your direction. So that might be a hint for you. Now, if I were doing this with paint, those might be solid color groupings. Here I'm talking about line work, but that might be something too that I would do with a paintbrush. If I do a small group, I tend to go in odd numbers. I think that creates more interest for me, but you can use pairs sometimes very effectively if you want to do that, or groupings of 3 or 5. Play around and see what you like, see what you know, catches your eye. So that's some of those. I love the gumdrop shape. I use this a lot, and it can be inverted to go like this. Again, you can do groupings, you can mix and match. They can go up and down, smaller, larger. Little baby gumdrops are super fun. Another fun one is a watermelon seed. I think I did some of those up there, but this looks like a watermelon seed or a teardrop. Those are fun. Squares are fun, and you notice that I don't draw my squares to be perfectly square and straight. We can draw straight lines with rulers. I'm more interested in the lines that really represent your personality and your creative energy coming through on the paper. I also tend to overlay lines. A lot of times I'll go over them 2 or 3 times. That creates a lot of interest too, and it also gets us past that it has to look, that it has to be very precise. It's more playful. So that's something you can do to loosen up your work, is draw something and go over it a couple of times. Another thing I do a lot of is crosshatch. If you're not familiar with crosshatch, it's like screen door. Think screen door. Now, I can tend to get really exact with my crosshatch, and I really want it to look more playful sometimes. So I will purposely loosen up my hold on my pen and even twist a little bit to add some fun to my crosshatch and really get that raw look. Concentric circles are another thing I do a lot of, both with paint and with marking. These can, you can do so much with these. Vary the shape as it gets larger or keep it in a perfect circle shape. But these are really fun to add interest to a piece. You know that I love my arches. I've been painting arches, groups of 3, groups of 1, adding lines, sometimes adding lines all the way to the bottom, sometimes just a couple of outside lines. Connecting them is super fun. I love doing that. And you can also connect from tip to tip. That's a completely different look than just the lines inside. Those are wonderful and playful. Horizontal changes up everything. Horizontal lines, vertical lines, thick and thin, short and tall, little matchsticks, rows of matchsticks. Look what you create here. Super fun. And you can go back and add little details to these marks. Another one would be odd shapes. You know, the trapezoid that's really wonky, or the stars that I don't ever use a pattern for. I like the stars to be really individual shapes. Another thing is to twist that pen. So if I'm making a mark, pardon me, I've had a cold. This is not COVID, it's a cold. I really have had a cold and allergies. So I apologize for the cough and the sniffles. But look at these beautiful, beautiful crooked lines. They're just so fun and wavy. So that's another fun thing to try. So get out your paper and do some marks, and I hope this gets you going and kind of stirs your creative energy, and build that confidence. Build that confidence with your tools, and mark, and then add some color and have a good time in your journal. Thank you. If you have any questions, be sure and leave a comment on my YouTube channel, and I will make every effort to answer them. Thank you. Stay safe.